In this video, we're going to be talking about new transportation grants, a $10,000 grant up to a $25,000 grant. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, and welcome to the #1 community for real estate, income, and credit. So if you'd like to know more about how to get grants for transportation, the 5 sources for grants for trucking, and also a $10,000 to $25,000 grant, make sure you watch the video to the end and leave a comment below if you need help with anything. One of the most impacted industries has been the transportation industry. With surges and shortages and also restocking, ground transportation in particular has seen major impact and changes. As pandemics come and go, private transportation will become more and more valuable as medical transportation and ambulances are spread thin and also supply chains continue to reset themselves. Transportation grants, such as the Tiger Discretionary Grant Program from the DOT, are available for government contracts only. However, there are many private transportation grants. You just need to know how to find them. And having a grant is better compared to loans, business lines of credit, also bringing in an investor and giving up equity of your company. The grants are free. You do not have to pay them back. Grants for trucking, long haul, box trucks, and many other forms of trucking transportation. Grants for senior transportation, non-emergency medical transportation. Grants for transportation such as Turo, Uber, Lyft, and also grants for disabled transportation, to name a few. Now, the key to finding transportation grants is to know that they're not called transportation grants. These grants are listed under social services grants. Social services meaning serving a community, creating jobs, and also serving specific demographics. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of transportation grants and free money that's available for companies that are doing exactly these. Number 1, so the first grant will be the Brinker International Charitable Giving Grant from Brinker International. So Brinker is a New York Stock Exchange listed company and is one of the world's leading casual dining restaurants. Founded in Dallas, Texas, they have over 1,600 restaurants in 29 countries around the world. They actually own the franchises Chili's and also Maggiano's Little Italy. So the Brinker International Grant is a rolling grant and it covers the areas of health, social services, arts, education, and also diversity. They focus their grants and dispersing funds on areas and communities that are served by Brinker International. They take in requests for grants all year round, and they typically take between 4 to 6 weeks to be able to review grant requests. The second grant is a $10,000 to $25,000 grant from the Safeway Foundation. So Safeway is an American supermarket chain founded in 1915 by a Baptist minister. They currently have over 250,000 employees, revenues of over $37.6 billion, and assets over $17.2 billion. And so the Safeway grant is another rolling grant, and they actually disperse funds throughout the entire year. And that's why I shared with you what the company's market cap was, so that you can see, like I always share on my channel, that grants actually are given for 2 reasons: purpose and also write-offs. These companies are making so much money, they have so much revenue, they have so much assets under management that they set up these foundations to be able to disperse grants. And if you know how to find them and you know where to find them, you can actually be the recipient of a grant, either through your organization or your small business can actually receive a grant from these companies because it's actually a pass-through for many of them. But this Safeway grant tends to focus and disperse the $10,000 to $25,000 grants in 5 areas, and that is hunger relief, education, health, human services, and also assisting people with disabilities. They disperse between $10,000 to $25,000 grants on a rolling basis, meaning year-round, meaning there's no deadline, and all year round they're dispersing the grants. And similar to the Brinker International grant, these grants are actually given out where Safeway stores are located and where Safeway is doing business. Now, there are many different opportunities in transportation, and the grants can help you get started. I started my transportation company in November of 2008 with 1 car. And I grew that business into well over $1 million business, doing business with large companies such as Nuvasiv, 8 O'Clock Coffee, Hilton, KPMG, and Pentex Medical, to name a few. I also know the inside of a transportation company and what it takes to run a transportation company successfully, from the hiring of the employees to logistics to what segments of transportation are actually lucrative. There are some that are more than others. There's corporate transportation, there's wedding transportation, there's group transportation, there's trucking transportation, there's medical transportation, educational transportation. The list goes on and on. There's so many ways that you can go with your transportation. So depending on which way you're going to go with transportation, if you're going to get transportation grants, most likely you're going to need to set up a business to be able to facilitate that. And we can help you do that with our DIY Build Business Credit Guide. You can get that in our resource area by simply going to my website, AskRinde.com, clicking on resource area, and it's free inside the resource area. Now, as promised, these are the 5 sources to be able to get grants for trucking. And getting these will depend on your location, your number of employees, and also the demographics that you're serving. Number 1, USDA Rural Business Development Grants. So these are grants primarily for rural businesses with fewer than 50 workers and also less than $1 million in gross revenue. Rural areas meaning communities outside of urban areas or cities with a population of more than 50,000. These grants can be used for a variety of things, from trucking companies to a revolving loan for startup companies to equipment purchases and also leadership training. Now, getting the USDA Business Development Grant, you'll not be able to apply directly with your company. However, you can by going through organizations and also state agencies, such as those that we have listed in our website and our resource area. Number 2, LISC, the Local Initiative Support Corporation. Now, the Ford Foundation founded the LISC in 1979 as a means to be able to pull together both public and private investments in supporting communities and individuals. So the current grant that they have is called the Rural Relief Small Business Grant, and it's in partnership with Lowe's. And it offers between $5,000 to $20,000 in grants for eligible enterprises. So this too is a rolling grant, and they're constantly giving out grants and funds on a rolling basis. And similar to the last grant, this is a rural grant, so you actually have to be in a rural area outside of an urban or city area with 50,000 population or less. For this particular grant, with trucking companies and also mobile homes, the address where the vehicle is stored is what's going to be used to determine eligibility. And as I said earlier about the companies serving specific demographics, the LISCs tend to focus on more entrepreneurs of color, women, and also veteran-owned businesses, and also companies that actually focus on historically underserved communities with limited access to affordable capital. They also look at your involvement and the impact that the grant will have in furthering causes in your community. Now, one great thing about LISC is that they also have something called location-specific funding, which is specifically for trucking businesses in New York, Los Angeles, Boston, and Henrico and Chesterfield counties in Virginia. Number 3, the NAV Small Business Grant Contest. So NAV is a business loan company, and they award 2 small businesses grants on a quarterly basis. The first recipient receives over $10,000, and the second runner-up receives over $5,000 in grant funding. The process is pretty straightforward. First, you have to apply. Once the application is complete, your business will receive a voter link to distribute and rack up votes to be eligible as a finalist. NAV then chooses 5 finalists of the over 200 businesses that are receiving votes online. Now, although this particular grant only gives out about 8 grants per year, the application process is pretty straightforward, and also the grant terms are flexible. Number 4, the Growth Grant from NACE. So NACE is the National Association for the Self-Employed, and this is an organization whose members are trucking business owners that are self-employed. So the way the grant works is that if you're actually a member of NACE and you're in good standing, you can apply for the Growth Grant to be able to grow your trucking company. The winners are chosen each month and awarded up to $4,000 to expand their businesses. And new NACE members are eligible to apply after 90 days of joining the organization. Number 5, private foundations. So there are many grants and funds available for you if you're looking to start a trucking business or a small company with transportation and growing a transportation business. You just have to be able to know where to find them. So to do this, we've actually included many of these foundations that are actually listed under social services and also transportation grants in our resource area. You can actually check them out by simply going to my website, AskRinde.com, clicking on Grants and Resource, and getting started today. Grants can be an excellent source and startup capital for you, specifically if you have no money. So we actually look forward to sharing more with you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is AskRindeNetwork@gmail.com. You can actually check out all the private foundations and sources that we have for transportation grants in our resource area by going to my website. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and please also like and share the video. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video, and until next time, thank you so much for watching.